Hi folks, this is Max from Woodsman's Finest. Welcome to another video in the Carving Axe series. Today I want to bring you another really nice axe by Landvirke Forge from Denmark, which is the Njord. When I reviewed the first few Landvirke axes, there was some kind of conversation and a dialogue going between me and Hans-Peter Knudsen, who is the great blacksmith behind Landvirke Forge, and there was just, an exchange of details about proportions, about weights, thicknesses, grinds, all kind of very fun stuff. I want to invite you to have a look at the other videos in the Carving Axe series, where I have 3 other videos about Landvirke axes, and each of them is really individual. So this one here is the Njord. Njord is an old god, as Hans-Peter was explaining to me. He is not residing in Asgard, but he is the god of the weather and the winds, and he married Jette, another, I think, Nordic god or goddess rather, and they're residing half of the year by the mountains and half of the year by the sea. So it was really nice of him to come up with this name, because he said he's living by the sea and I'm living in the mountains, and that by itself was really nice. Other than that, since Njord is from the mountains, this axe here, I think he really had a heavier craft axe in mind when he came up with this. This is also supposed to be a modification of the Bergman axe, which is a heavy carving axe as well, with a very heavy beard, or like a very thick beard, and just in general a very heavy axe. And I would call it a medium to heavy carving axe. So is this one here. This also has the weight to it. We're around 800-900 grams here, the whole package together, depending on the handle. And I have had 2 different handles on this axe so far. This is the second handle I attached to it, with actually a replaceable wedge up top, and I really wanted to do a more back-swept handle with a heavier knob, and I really love this handle. I just actually carved this in the woods. It has a nice ridge in front. I hope, guys, that this is actually focusing decently. It's a little bit hard to see. The lighting is a little bit bright today as well, but it is a comfortable handle. However, Hans-Peter just sent this axe head to me, actually giving me the opportunity to check out the different handles on it. And whatever I throw on this axe, it just really performs lovely. So in his opinion, it is a modification of the Bergman. It has a little bit of a bigger eye compared to some of my other carving axes, and it actually has an interesting pole. The pole actually has 2 facets here, and I think Hans-Peter had in mind that it just really fits nicer in the hand when you do some kind of cleaning up fashion with type method with this axe. And again, guys, I really like showing this method where I'm choking up behind the beard, and I really like when the beard actually comes up until the middle of the blade, so I really get my hand behind the middle of the curve of the blade. However, this is not something I'm using a lot, okay? Where this technique comes in handy, if you really have nicely straight bevels, which this one really has, is when you want to clean up joints, like with a chisel. And I think in the old days, Vikings doing, and I would call this a very Nordic, very Viking inspired axe. Hans-Peter being from Denmark as well. And I think in the old days, not having any saws, at least not in the Viking technology or culture, all kind of chisels and tools that would do really all kind of cleaning job as well would come in handy. But that's just off the top of my head, okay? So yeah, the pole is designed that way for that reason. Then we have really beautiful little ears that just really bring in a little bit of a more Nordic style. Then we got a nice narrow neck here, and then a rather long cutting blade of about 6 inches, nearly 6 inches, which is really lovely and close enough to the handle to actually have a lot of balance. You know, as you guys probably know, I don't really like having a long distance between the cutting edge and wherever my hands are. On some axes it can be a little bit further forward, wherever it is, but in general between the edge and the eye. And this axe actually has this decently close distance here that gives it a lot of control. Therefore, we also have to have a very quickly upswept toe here, just in order to get the length in the beard and everything. This axe is a little bit on the thick side, as you also see in the detail shots. And the interesting thing is it kind of goes thick, about 5 millimeters or something, all the way to the bevels. And then where the bevels start, Hans-Peter puts a pretty extreme bevels on them. In this case, they're under 30 degrees, so they need a little bit of convexing for my heavy use in order to really perform over a longer period of time. And I don't say that in a negative way, because the bevels he put on there, they were nicely hollow ground on a really big wheel, and they must be around 28 degrees or something. I just went over the bevels with a little bit of stropping and got them a tiny little bit of convexing just around the edge, up to maybe 30 degrees, and ever since that, this axe performs absolutely beautifully. And this is something where a lot of people, actually craftsmen, say if you don't like the bevels of whatever you get, you as a craftsman, you should be able to alter them in a way that you want. Now, I don't say anybody should be expected to regrind or put a new grind on their tools. This is not why we buy them, just to completely modify them. But if there is something about the grind that you don't like, a little bit of modifications in form of straightening them out a little bit or convexing them a little bit should be possible with just a couple of strokes of high grit sandpaper or a strop. Well, guys, I can't really say enough good things about this axe when it comes to spoon carving and heavy stock removal. I would really call this again a medium to heavy carving axe, and with this rather short backswept handle that's about 35 centimeters long. It's exactly the same length as my Hans Carlsen handle. And this was actually not on purpose. This is something I really do automatically by now. This is just a handle length that really comes natural to me. And I usually don't measure the handles, but I'm just looking at the axe or whatever tool I'm rehandling, and then I just slap a handle on it. And usually it turns out to be exactly the same length as the other stuff that I like. On this backswept handle, you can actually tell that the curve here, if you would extend it, kind of hits the butt end, the handle knob here. And this is also something that I've read before, that just really lends itself to a slicing motion if you somehow let the handle extend the radius of the axe. Other than that, we have the same beautiful construction as the other Landwerk forge axes, which means we have a mild steel body, hammer forged and forge welded, with a bit from 5160 spring steel. It's a laminated axe construction. I really dig. There's some detail shots I included about the beautiful lamination line you get. So up here you can actually tell a little bit. You might see the lamination line there. Anyways, folks, this is already a lot of rambling, but I'm just stoked about these kind of beautiful tools. Just feels so good in hand. It's a really great axe. I think Hans-Peter did a really great job. I got this axe just ahead. It was definitely an axe that I had a little bit of my 2 cents in when it comes to designing, and I really think it lends itself beautifully to a backswept handle. And this way, this is just an absolute lifetime of a beautiful carving axe, and I think everybody or anybody would be really happy to to call something like this their carving axe. Beautiful axe. Just gonna go ahead and insert a little bit of footage of me using it for carving. I would bring an axe like this for all kind of chores, but especially doing like heavier carving and spoon carving, I had a great time doing this. So I'm just gonna switch over the chopping block and carve out a blank I need anyways for a market in a few days.